If you're anything like me, you probably bought some Anubias, brought it home, stuck it in a corner of a tank, and left it there for months and months, out of sight, out of mind, to let it grow and see what would happen. This occurred to me here in the 150-gallon tank maybe about a year ago, and this plant has overgrown its area. I got completely used to it just being there and occupying a space. It's a little bit neglected, so we're going to have to address that at this point. Now, if you're in the situation like me, you're going to have to get into the tank and remove this plant altogether. This plant has been in here growing for quite some time, and as you can see, the extensive root system has attached to the rocks and whatnot, and will take a little bit of time to gently kind of remove all of this stuff that has attached to the rock. After a little bit of coercion and removing the roots from this rock, as you can see when pulling it from the tank, it will have collected quite a bit of detritus. So I would recommend rinsing it off in a bucket of tank water, as there's just no reason to keep all of that. As we move into my workspace, you can see from the detailed video here, there is a problem with allowing this plant to just simply grow on its own for the amount of time that I allowed this to happen. Personally, I should have been doing this exact operation approximately 6 months ago, separating the plant, individualizing it into a bunch of separate plants, and attaching it to something other than just allowing it to continue to spread over this one surface of rock. Even though I should have been doing this operation a few months ago, I can tell you why I avoided doing it, and that's for the reason that I was really enjoying where this plant was. It was just filling out the space, and it really was enjoyable to look at what it was doing and where it was growing. As we pull through and start to identify all of these segments of individual plants, where they're branching off, there are a few tools that you're going to need. I happen to use these old sewing scissors. They're like some thread scissors. Nothing special about them. Super cheap. Can find them on Amazon for a whole bunch of them for super cheap. Not a big deal. If you don't happen to have some scissors, you can take such a large plant as this and actually break it apart with your hands. At those points where you can break it apart with your hands, that's actually where you're going to be using your scissors. Hopefully you can find some scissors and you don't have to do this like a caveman. Some people would think that this trimming and propagation is kind of aggressive and it might not be the best idea, but I can say this: it is the best idea not only for the plant, but it is also the best idea for the owner. Those people that are utilizing this plant can trim it, turn it into more individual stems, and grow out the plant into more and more and more. And considering how user-friendly this plant is, that means resale will not be an issue. The plant has a strong tendency to stifle out its own healthy growth. There is a lot of crowding causing yellow in the leaves that are too closely grouped together. All of these yellow leaves will simply be removed. This won't harm the plant in any way. And with a little care, all that will be left with this is nice greenery for the aesthetic to improve. I sort through all of the pieces that are suitable for the display and the others to be removed and placed in a sump in order to regrow. Regrowing them in a sump gives me an opportunity to bring them back to health without having them under so much direct light from being in the display tank, and also just allows them a time to rehab and grow out to be trimmed and made into more plants, just like I'm doing here. Before replacing into the tank, we're going to go ahead and get out some spare Sierra stone pieces and some super glue gel type. This happens to be the DAP brand super glue gel type, and I'm going ahead and going to glue and attach these Anubias pieces to these pieces of rock. I'm going to be cognizant to glue these vertically so they have an opportunity to continue growing in the upward direction. Yes, Anubias can be glued horizontally, but that is not the scape that I am going for here. So I'm going to continue to glue these vertically so they will continue to grow in that fashion. The bright green regrowth is what I'm looking for to show up within the aquascape. So that is why I am following this method. Vertically or horizontally, I have not experienced lack of growth either way. I've seen, generally speaking, about the same amount of growth. Allowing it to grow completely compacted the way that I have is what becomes sort of detrimental to this plant while underwater. Now, if you were to grow this plant this big and compact in a paludarium or something up in the air, that would actually be fine long term, and I wouldn't be that concerned about it. Gluing is a fairly simple process of applying glue and attaching the thing that you're gluing to it. It is a very simple process. I don't have that detailed description that somebody might be looking for. It really is just a simple process of trial and error, though you do want to be cognizant of the placement of which portion that you're gluing. You don't want to really be gluing the roots. You actually want to be gluing the rhizome to whatever it is that you're gluing it to. You can glue it to wood, you could glue it to plastic, you could glue it to rocks, just about any item that will hold it in place, you can glue it to it, and I have never seen a real problem. Replanting and replacing back into the tank is actually a quite simple process. I've actually got a giant stone in the background here, which will help to elevate, so we'll be able to see the Anubias. Also, there's not as much light back here. I've kind of moved and readjusted the lights a little bit, so it is a little more chill as far as the lighting goes for this Anubias back here, and that is going to work out better long term. We don't want to kind of burn and scorch the plants with the lights, since we've just trimmed them and done a lot of stuff to them, and we'll just allow them to regrow back here just like we did last time. Enough CO2 and fertilization and everything going on in this tank is not going to be a problem for this plant to continue to reproduce and regrow, and I really do look forward to showing you guys an update in a couple of months from now. This channel and everything I do on here is sponsored, funded, produced, all that kind of stuff by you guys, the fans that watch this channel. So at the very least, hit the free subscribe button. That would be fantastic. And if you want to join our community, feel free to do that. You can head over to Patreon and check out our Patreon page, or you can just hit the blue join button down below here. And otherwise, I'll see you all later. Yeah, later. There was a giant spider back there. It's gone now. Giant spider. Somewhere.